A Spencer Araghetti.
Homer.
Oh!
Crawford boxes.
Oh!
No.
Hello and welcome to the top 10. The Houston Astros, voted by you, the people, the 10th ranked baseball team heading into the 2025 season. How'd they end up here? Let's do the direct TV rewind. If you're ready to transform your baseball watching experience, head to directtv.com/JohnBoy or scan the QR code on the screen to learn more. Last year, they won the West. Shocker. But at 88 and 73, the lineup ended up being there. They had a horrible start to the season, if you guys remember. And then they picked it up. They caught the Mariners, the biggest blown 10-game lead in baseball history. Quickest, excuse me. 8th in OPS, 11th in runs scored. The starting pitching had some ups and downs throughout the year. They finished 9th in ERA. The bullpen, 8th in ERA. They still have some dogs back there. But they did drop in the rankings from last year, 6th to now 10th. And Trev, it's because some household baseball names are no longer there.
They are no longer there, Jake. That is your part of the show. I have some guys they brought in, though.
Great.
Because they did lose some talent, yes, but they did supplement it as well. Right. Starting with our guy, Christian Walker, comes over from your Snakes, 3 years, $60 million. The guy can get it done. Defensively, he hits bombs. He puts up great at-bats. Sneaky good looking, I think. Putting that out there. He is dealing with I believe an oblique right now as we were recording this in spring training, so we'll see. I mean, opening day is not too far off. We'll see if he's ready for that, but they bring him in. He'll be there for the season. In the trade that Kyle Tucker went to Chicago, they brought a lot of guys in. Isaac Paredes comes over with Hayden Wesneski and prospect Cam Smith. Isaac will start at third base. He'll fill the Alex Bregman void. He, too, will take advantage of the Crawford boxes. Hayden Wesneski comes over, like I said, starting pitcher. He'll be in the back end of that rotation. Taylor Trammell comes over in a trade with the Yankees. And then they brought some guys over on minor league deals, Brendan Rodgers, Luis Guillorme, Miguel, who's maybe most famously known for a catch of the bat in spring training.
Interesting. He's got a couple.
Long at bat.
He had one crazy at bat. Yeah, I think I jumped there.
Love that name. And obviously, we're going to mention our guy. Zach Short is in camp as well. They re-signed Ben Gamel, 1 year, $1.2 million. Only his $200,000 signing bonus is guaranteed. So I guess it's a split contract. Probably has to make the team. That's who they brought in. And then the list of who they lost, Jake, it's a long.
Trevor Alex Bregman. Just talked about him. He went to the Boston Red Sox. Excited for him. And end of an era. I mean, his fingerprints all over that Houston team. Justin Verlander. How about the biggest boss that you've seen thus far? He's in San Francisco. Yusei Kikuchi, one of the bigger trade deadline ads, gave them 10 fantastic starts. Jason Hayward, who had a little cup of coffee. Ryan Presley, who's been on the back end for that team for a lot of years now. Kyle Tucker. Both those guys are with the Cubbies, man. Some other bodies. Hector Neris is out of town. Kendall Graveman, Caleb Ferguson. I don't know, man. This is it's been the Houston way. They are okay letting some bodies go because they usually come back and just win the division 7 of the last 8 years. Now, Coach Trev, the lineup. I know there's a couple guys we like. How's it feel?
Obviously, there's still talent on this team, on this roster. In this lineup, there's talent. I think almost every year for the last 3 or 4 years, we've been looking at the Houston lineup and being like, okay, is it getting soft? Is there not enough depth there? And then they just kind of get the job done. I'm looking at the lineup and I'm kind of thinking the exact same thing here.
Right.
Jose Altuve is going to be playing left field, we think, as of right now in spring training. He has actually looked pretty good out there. Isaac Paredes will be at third base. Yordan Alvarez may be the best hitter in baseball. He's top 5. He'll be the DH. Christian Walker will be at first base. Yainer Diaz will be a catcher. Jeremy Pena at shortstop. Chas McCormick in right field, replacing Kyle Tucker. Mauricio Dubon at second base. Jake Myers in center field. On the bench, Victor Caratini. Ben Gamble. Brendan Rodgers is like a sneaky pickup for them. Kind of like that fit. Our guy, John Singleton. Shout out, Lindsay. He's there as well. So the lineup, to me, it kind of looks like the lineup for the last few years. Like, it's like, okay, you could see it happening. There are some, I don't know how deep it is, but they'll probably get the job done. That's what the lineup looks like. What about that starting pitching and the bullpen, Jake?
They're going to throw the ball. They kind of always have in Houston. That's been a sneaky part of their run. It's going to start with Framber, our guy, small glove king. Just always electric. Don't want to see him come October or any time. Hunter Brown, who had a impressive full season with some other stats that you can make it look even prettier. Ronel Blanco, that breakout in that story was pretty wild. Spencer Raghetti, he had a nice stretch down the end there. Hayden Wesneski, is that Italian? That's a little more Polak. And Trev, I think one of the storylines to watch for them throughout the season is we're going to have guys returning. Your guy, the Snapdragon, Lance McCullers Jr., been a minute. He should be coming back. Luis Garcia. Like, how many big games did we see him pitching? Christian Javier. JP France, he might be out the whole year. But those guys are going to be coming back that we could see a glutton of We've done this before, of pitching depth for Houston. And the back end of the bullpen, don't forget about Josh Hader, because that's a guy
never can.
You don't want to see. Brian Abreu, Taylor Scott, your South African king. Speaking of Brian King, Caleb Ort, Rafael Montero, just down the depth chart there. And you might see some vets, Stephen Okert, Miguel Castro. I think they're on spring training invites. Forrest Whitley. Wow. And that's what we've got from our Houston Astros. So, Trev, I think the pitching is an easy and kind of fun conversation. Like, they can pitch. They've got potential breakout guys. They're going to have guys coming back that the Astros are going to figure it out rotation-wise. I guess I want to jump to the lineup because, yes, Isaac Paredes comes in, and him and Christian Walker, dead pull hitters, this should be a great landing spot for them. It is just a little weird. Alex Bregman and Kyle Tucker have been such mainstays and two-way mainstays as well that I'm interested to see how the lineup feels.
I agree. It does seem a little bit different this year in some of the departures, but I feel like if we go back in time, we probably felt the same way, about George Springer and about some of these guys they let go. So I'm going to give the Astros the benefit of the doubt until they prove me wrong. I do like the additions to this lineup. I do like Paredes. I do like Walker. I think the outfield has been a big question mark. You had Kyle Tucker kind of like a mainstay there and really helping that group out collectively. He's gone. Obviously, adding Jose Altuve out there kind of, I guess, stabilizes it. But Chas McCormick and Jake Myers, like two guys who just did not have good offensive seasons last year. Like, what are they going to bring to the table offensively? Can they find a little magic? Now that there's maybe more pressure put on them, is that going to elevate their game at all? I think that's kind of where I start, where I see, okay, that's the outfield to me is probably a weakness on this team, especially offensively. Again, I know Jose Altuve is out there. That's going to help out, but that's kind of my hole here. I think the infield will be just fine if everyone's healthy. I think Jeremy Pena, I think he's going to progress as a player. We know what those guys they brought in can do, and it seems a little light on the depth to me. But we've said that in the past, and again, they've just continued to win that division. That's where I kind of start. I don't know, man. Like it feels like we're saying the same thing year after year with this team.
Yeah, and I guess I truly wonder. Like I've said it a lot, but this team deserves the credit because it's all they do. They go dancing. They've won a lot. They got scoobled last year in the 3-game wild card, but part of the reason they were in that is they won 88 games in a division where the Texas Rangers had an ugly year. The Seattle Mariners didn't come to fruition again. The A's had a nice step up to whatever it was, like 69 wins, and the Angels took a step back. So it's what was that division really? Hey, maybe the Astros got off to a bad, unlucky start. That maybe that's all it was, and it would be the 92-win Astros, and we wouldn't care as much. But with Bregman out, with Tucker out, Altuve moving to left field, he's turning 35. The defensive metrics went down. The offensive stats went down a little bit. It's going to feel different, but Jose Altuve can still be really good. Yainer Diaz can take a step up. Jeremy Pena could take a step up. That I think these Houston Astros are going to be very good. And I do like, you mentioned it briefly, like a Brendan Rodgers, like getting away from the Rockies. Hey, you're going to get a lot of at-bats versus lefties early on. Maybe there's a resurgence there for a guy that was a top prospect. Like, I still believe what Houston does as a coaching organization, talent acquisition, that are they my favorites in the AL West? I've been drinking the Rangers Kool-Aid a little bit, that I'd have to think about that. But this very much feels like a playoff team.
They still have high-end talent on this team, and quite a bit of it. I mean, if you really look at each section of the roster we talked about, okay, the bullpen still has Hader, Abreu, and go look at Taylor Scott's numbers from last year. They still have very good options at the back end of their bullpen. They still have Jose Altuve, Christian Walker, Yordan Alvarez, Isaac Paredes, like Yainer Diaz, guys that have done it at the big league level. Like that's a nice start to your lineup. And then the starting pitching, they still have high-end talent. To me, I just continue to look at the depth and how much is that going to matter during the year. I don't know. I mean, the prospects here, like they don't have a lot of guys on the precipice of, I keep saying the word precipice.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of guys ready to come up and take over these positions. At least, you tell me if I'm wrong, Astros fans. I don't really see that. So does it come down to, can everybody stay healthy? And it's not a great start. As Christian Walker, again, is nursing an oblique right now. But that, to me, is where I see the fault in this team is maybe the depth. They still have talent on this roster. I still believe in, like, the mentality there. And, yeah, like, the organization. I believe in the organization. But that's the one thing, I guess, that scares me is the depth.
Yeah, and, hey, again, like, Top prospect for them is Jacob Melton, who I think has a chance to be called up this year, and maybe they know something about him. Like I feel there was a lot of, the secondary prospects for Houston. Like I don't remember a Yainer Diaz hype train, but that guy's turned into one of the best catchers in baseball. So I think organizationally they deserve credit there. I do think things have changed. Like, their owner is more involved now, and they talked about not spending more money. That if you're hearing those conversations, that means, another outfield piece might have been nice. But maybe that's at the deadline, or maybe it's not, because if these starting pitchers start coming back, the Astros really have a lot of depth there that you could turn any of those starting pitchers into an outfielder, you think. I think the Astros are going to stay in it, see what they've got. Like Chas McCormick, had one of the bigger drop-offs last year. So, hey, maybe he gets back to form, or maybe he had an injury or something. That they can see what the baseball season gives them, and they should have an area of strength that they could operate from.
Yes.
Nice.
I'm sorry. I'm just looking at this. I think the one area they do have depth is bullpen.
Okay.
Because I mentioned the guys at the top. They have, Abreu, Hader, and Taylor Scott, and then behind them, there's just a bunch of guys that you're looking at: Ort, King, Dubin, Whitley, Oker. I'm like a Miguel Castro guy. I think he gets hit every single year, but every time I see him pitch, I'm like, you could be good. You could be like really good.
Yeah.
So what's up with that? I'm curious to see, I guess, what they do with their bench, because that's the depth I'm talking about. Who do they keep on the bench? Trammell, Ben Gamble, DeZenzo, Short, Whitcomb. I don't know who Jesus Bastidas is, but I'm sure he's good.
Yeah.
Like I want to see how they round the roster out. What are they looking for? Are they looking for guys to come in and play defense at the end of games? Are they looking to have some platoon matchups to spark some offense? I want to see how the roster shapes up. We're getting close to that, right? We're filming this on March 7th. I'm having a hard time kind of wrapping my head around what this team, like what the floor is for this team. I think I know what the ceiling is for this team. The ceiling is they win the AL West. But what is the floor for this team? And because I think there is actually a lot of like competition for some roster spots, I'm having a hard time kind of wrapping my head around like where exactly I see it.
Yeah, and the other thing that just jumps out in the lineup right now, it's currently listed with only one lefty in it. It's a lefty that has the argument for best hitting lefty. It's Yordan Alvarez, who's going to age 27, and like the season is going to happen. OPS of 1.092 on the road last year. Not bad, Yordan. Also, I think we had a slugging stat that was like low fastballs. He slugged at like an 837 clip or something. That's slugging alone. But yeah, our guy John Singleton, I know he's kind of been around average for them. Ben Gamble's coming back. They liked what they saw in his sample size last year, but that's still different, very different than Kyle Tucker. And I don't know, I guess I'm just the Seattle Mariners. They're coming in with an all right-handed pitching staff or rotation that we just did the Boston Red Sox. If I'm the Mariners pitching staff and I see the Red Sox, I'm like, damn, we are about to have a grindy weekend, huh? If I come in and I'm the Mariners and I see Houston, I'm like, hey, I think if we execute, we can get out of here with some dubs. So I'm interested to see what that feels like. And it's another pivot year for Houston, but while I'm saying that, we have said that. We said that when Springer left. We said that when Correa left. Like they've dealt with this. I guess coming off of last year, I think there's a little more reason to believe they could be caught.
I don't know, man. Yeah, I guess. I think it has more to do with the improvement around the division. I think the A's have gotten a ton better.
Yeah.
I think the Red Sox the Rangers are obviously in for a bounce back year. Mariners, I'm so like on the fence about. Like, I don't believe in the Mariners, dude. I don't. I hope I put the under on their team. I don't remember what I did, but I'm not into it.
Okay.
Again, I think this comes down to a depth thing. Does anybody take a step forward? They had a bunch of guys that are slated to start in their lineup with OPSs in the 6s. And like, how long does that last? How long can you be? Like, you better be a defensive whiz if you're having OPS in the 6s.
Let them go.
I'm curious, man.
Yeah.
Dubon, Myers, McCormick.
Yeah.
All these guys who are slated for starting jobs in this lineup, OPS is in the 6s. So, like, can a guy like Melton figure some things out? I guess, looking at his AAA stats, he didn't do great in a taste last year. So I don't think he's going to start the year. He's going to have to prove himself at AAA. And then can he be the left-hander that you're talking about in that lineup? I don't know. The depth is the only question I have for this team. Because, again, they have high-end talent. Division has gotten better. I'm starting to think about where I see them. But, again, it's just they've just continued to prove – not prove us wrong, because I believe we've always been on the Astros hype train. They've overcome whatever deficiencies they've had. And can they do it again this year?
Yeah, and what the Astros front office is probably seeing, Isaac Paredes and his pull chart, he hit 31 homers in 2023 for the Rays. He could get back to that. He's 26 years old. Yeah. I know that his Cubs times weren't great, but that was 52 games. and not the best stadium for him. Christian Walker, big pull as well. And the other thing I guess I want to mark down is Christian Walker's defensive numbers at first base, grade out 1 of 1. Like, he's been the guy. So Houston, who's had some struggles with that first base position, if Christian Walker comes in and he plays to his baseball card, and he's middle of the lineup, amazing on defense, you moved Altuve off second because his defensive numbers weren't there. Bregman to Paredes, you could feel that. But also Christian Walker and a new second baseman, the infield could feel a little better. Pena's great. And that's something a team feels. And like the outfielders we've mentioned, all of them can play defense. And Houston has believed in that throughout their deep runs. That
yes. Jay Myers can go get it out there.
With being able to throw the ball, with being able to pick the ball, they have enough offense to score that this could easily be another 92, 93 win team for Houston. I could see them, again, looking closer to mid-80s if things don't click, though. And I think that's just the honest side of it, that if this team wasn't named the Houston Astros, do you think they'd be ranked 10th on our list?
No.
Right?
Well, I mean, again, they have this high-end talent. And I know what you're saying because I get there are times where a roster has to have both. Like, you have to have guys that can go slug the ball, and they do have guys that can play defense. Like Jeremy Pena, league average hitter. I think career 99 OPS plus. But he racks up WAR because he steals bags, and like last year he stole 20 bags. But he plays defense, and so last year, do you know he's a 4.1 guy? Yeah. In his career, he's been a 5.0, a 3.8, and a 4.1 WAR. That is amazing.
Yes.
To have your shortstop position. So if you're getting the defensive value, you're getting the base running, you have to find different ways to get value out of your roster. I understand the concept. But to kind of ward off the division getting better, like, yeah, Pena, like, he's never been over a 715 OPS. Pena's fine. I'm not worried about Pena.
No.
But a guy like McCormick, a guy like Myers, a guy like Dubon, like, if they can step the offense up a little bit, that's going to go a long way. And maybe that's all it takes.
Yeah, or I could even there could be a funny part this year that we look at Altuve, Paredes, Alvarez, and Walker. Hell, you could loop Diaz in, that they could be have one of the best top threes, have one of the best top fours, have one of the best top fives, which we've seen. If you really have a crew doing that, that can be enough to be an elite offense in this league, because Yordan Alvarez is special. Yordan Alvarez is different. You know, when we jump around to different teams and it's like, this guy could have a good year, sometimes we're talking about an 840 OPS. Yordan can one dot, and there's not a lot of guys in the league that can do that. And that with Paredes and Walker finding that porch, and Altuve, maybe he looked good in left. I know Rob had the one clip, if we can get that up. This is one video from a spring training game, but
a lefty going oppo too. That's not an easy.
That's not an easy ball, and he's going towards the wall. And hey, I'm never gonna doubt Jose Altuve's work ethic. Like,
I just had a thought.
Okay, please.
It's funny. You know, the wall's pretty tall out there in the Crawford box.
Yep.
You know, like, the perception's gonna be a little interesting.
That first
to see old Jose,
whenever that
trying to climb that thing,
that Houston road trip to Boston, there's going to be something there. And you know what? He'll end up laughing because he'll probably be like starting the All-Star game, and that'll become an Altuve young fact, ball fact.
Before we get into the DraftKings over/under win total, I do want to maybe you just turn the show off for a second, because you're never going to hear somebody say that. But I have a thought process that I used to use with my youth team. Okay. When you have a top heavy lineup and maybe some data analysts, need to go over this. Is there a way to go like good hitter, bad hitter, good hitter, bad hitter, good hitter, bad hitter, just so you always have that coming up? Or is that killing momentum? No good. That's what I used to do. I hated getting all my guys on and having like 3 outs in a row. Is there something to just spreading the love out?
I
know you want to have your best hitters get at bats. I understand that, but like sprinkling a few bad hitters up there in between them.
Yeah, I think I think there's a little bit of merit to that, depending on how the individual lineup feels. I also think there's something to, let's say those top 5 are studs, and even Pena plays to his baseball card. I think, let's say if you have a bottom 3 or 4, when those guys do have a day, you're set up to win.
Sure, you're going to push across those 5 runs.
Like when the 8-9 guys and there's a runner on second, nobody out for the top of this lineup, like you're probably gonna lose that game. I would be interested to see what the geeks got. Comment below.
Oh my gosh, we're into AI and data. Tell us about DraftKings.
Speaking of the data, go to the DraftKings Sportsbook. They have everything. But especially with the NBA season rolling right now, our partners at the DraftKings Sportsbook have a deal for you. All new customers who bet $5 will get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you use code Talkin. Whatever you're looking to, monster slams, dishing the rock, cleaning the glass, DraftKings, the home of NBA player props, they've got a bet you're probably going to like. So go check them out. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use code TALKIN. Bet just $5 on any wager and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's code TALKIN only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. What do we got, Coach?
I believe this is the biggest one we've seen.
Oh.
Heard that a lot. Yeah. 87.5 DraftKings over-under win total.
It's a good line.
That's a real good line, Jake.
It's a good line.
I think this is really testing what do you believe in. That's a hefty line. 88 wins is like you're going to be a playoff team for sure. Although I guess last year the Diamondbacks won 89 games and did not make the playoffs. But I believe in the AL. 88 wins will get you to the playoffs.
Houston, Seattle's interesting. I've revealed
that I
like
over
Texas.
On the Mariners 84.5.
They can pitch so much. A legal ballpark. I have my pick.
Okay.
Fuck. Oh. Thinking.
In 3, 2, 1.
Under.
Gosh, I thought you were going to go over.
And we're screwed. Houston just won the AL East. Hey,
I don't really believe in that. Can we mark that down in my pick that I don't really believe in the under, but I have to start taking some unders, and maybe I put them at 87 wins, and maybe they don't win the division, but they sneak in the wild card.
I like Texas. I think Seattle has a crazy floor. Oakland has some talent. The Angels. If I'm going to pick these, this roster feels slightly lesser from last year.
They won 88 last year.
And they won 88. So I don't know. It's a good line. I mean, they can't be like bad, so maybe I should be factoring that in more. No confidence. If I didn't know the Houston Astros history, which should matter, I would be taking the under. So I'm going to take the under, same. And I'm going to be wrong, and they're going to win the American League. Altuve, Silver Slugger, Jordan MVP.
Gold Glove.
Like, when's that happening? God,
it's hard to win the MVP as a DH.
Yeah. Tell us what we got wrong. The over under. Tell us what else we missed. Let's see what goes on in Houston. New ballpark name, right?
Daikin.
So let's see. Maybe that affects the team. You don't think
Their air conditioning is going to be great.
Yeah, it is in that stadium. The game I went to, I was very impressed.
I love that stadium.
It's nice. I enjoyed it. All right. Thanks, everyone. Let us know. Subscribe. We'll be on to the 9th ranked team. Oh.